to Success with Ashley Owens on your lunch break on Thursdays on RVN TV. Today, we are switching it up a little bit. Today, typically I talk to power networkers in the greater Philadelphia and South Jersey area, pretty much anywhere that I can handle. But today we actually have a guest. Her name is Mineela Chand. And what Mineela does is new things. She actually has her own business, but she is actually a newer representative of the networking scene. And so what I thought would be really interesting would be to talk about like when you started, like what the deal is, what happened, and what challenges or maybe non-challenges that you're having as you're kind of getting into this world. So say hello to everybody.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
This is not your first time on camera, but it's your first time here?
Yes.
That's exciting. So Mineela, tell people who you are, what you do, and why they should care that you're on the show today.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot to cover. So by training, I'm a psychotherapist, and what I do is I have a private practice right now, and my specialties are trauma, depression, anxiety, and ADHD.
Oh, wonderful.
So productivity types of things.
Any entrepreneur, you walk into any entrepreneur meetup or group, they're like, oh,
I need you.
I need your help.
So the thing that, so you and I met through Power Match, right?
Yeah.
And
well, Power Match is so people know. What is Power Match?
So Power Match is a way for introverts to do networking.
I love how you describe it. Hi, Sarah.
Because as an introvert, I don't like free range networking. So like throw me in a room with 100 people, and I'm just kind of like, a deer in the headlights. I'm like, who do I talk to, and what do I talk about, right?
Or you immediately hate everybody.
Yeah. Yes. And I just want to go home and build a blanket fort and read with a flashlight and eat Lucky Charms, right? So I would prefer to do that. So so Power Match and with networking, that came about because I'm launching a new business.
Okay.
So I'm moving, because one of the things that happened in my private practice was I was getting a lot of professionals, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of young professionals or C-suite people or executives or entrepreneurs who were kind of scaling up their business. And what they were coming to talk to me about as a psychotherapist was, I have this stuff in my life that's going on that's kind of getting in the way of me scaling my business or my career, and I need your help to kind of fix or kind of work that out, right?
Yep.
So, and then over the years, I've done corporate trainings, and and I landed like a part-time EAP position at a Fortune 50 company.
What's an EAP position?
Employee Assistance Program. Mm-hmm. So, and I kind of do my job a little bit differently because I do have a background in business. I was working in the real world before I became a therapist in the real world. So I'm familiar with all kinds of different iterations of work. So I've worked full-time, I've worked part-time, I've done contract stuff, I've done temporary. I have been that person, that young person who gets a call at 8 o'clock in the morning, our receptionist didn't show up, can you be here in an hour, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of thing, and that's kind of how I got through my undergrad, right, and paying for school and all that kind of stuff. So I have an experience of working all kinds of different positions and working with leaders and things like that. And somehow my practice just naturally and organically started attracting that clientele, right? And I've always had an interest in business. So now I'm kind of like, how can I do more of that? Because I really like it. Because one day in a session, I had a C-suite individual. We did a session, and I said, so how was therapy today? Like, what did you get out of it, and what was the most important thing? And this leader looked at me, and he said, we didn't do therapy. You just did executive coaching with me. And I was like, oh, all right, let's look into this. So the new business that I'm launching, and I just filed the paperwork for it.
When?
So like just a few days ago.
Holy
so
cow.
It's in process. It's in that whole legal process of getting my employee number and the tax number and all that kind of stuff.
So
right?
is this the announcement of your?
This is it. This is it.
So look directly into that camera
Yay.
and tell people what you're doing.
So what this new business, it's kind of been in the works for a couple of years because I've been playing around with it. And that was a really big move for me, being a therapist and knowing kind of how to do that, and moving into a corporate and a business environment. Because as a therapist, I'm not trained to do networking and marketing and, you know, all of that other stuff that kind of, you know, talking about my business and what I do and all that kind of stuff. Because therapists, we listen, right? And it's all about the client. So me, like, there's no space in my clinical work for me, because that's just not part of, you know, part of the conversation.
So what's the name of your business?
So the name of the business, and actually I have been sitting with this for a number of years now, and I had the URL for a couple of years, and, you know, so it's called Launch Pattern Consulting. And
say it again with some passion behind it, because it's
Launch
such a big deal.
Pattern Consulting.
Yay, that's so exciting.
So
it's real.
It is. It's absolutely real. And doing that LLC, you know, it was like, oh God, now I have like skin in the game, right? And then I was like, Ashley's gonna ask me about this, and all of a sudden it is real, and I can't go back, and there's this commitment, and now I've got accountability and responsibility, and people are gonna be waiting to see what I do with this, right? Like, I can't just hide this anymore,
and
right?
on that note about not hiding, what we're gonna talk about when we come back is how awesome your new practice is, and how networking has been a pivotal point, or maybe a challenge, or whatever it may be. So on the way back, we're going to talk to Mineela about her journey and how she is going to now tackle it head on. Stay tuned.
When did you see the sign?
When I needed to jumpstart sales.
Build attendance for an event.
Help people find their way. Fast Signs designed new directional signage.
And got them back on track. Get started at fastsigns.com.
I'm Casey Price, host of a brand new show on RVN TV called Justice for All. Tune in every Tuesday at 1 p.m. as some of South Jersey's amazing attorneys share their stories and important legal information that could affect you and the people you love. Remember, that's in Justice for All, every Tuesday at 1 p.m. only on RVN TV.
Is your business growing and now you need a new and bigger building? Has your organization outgrown their facility and now it's time to expand? Do your hobbies require the need for more space? If you're paying rent, but now you want the advantages of owning, the prospect of financing, construction, and on-time completion may seem out of your reach. General Steel Corporation has the answer. A pre-engineered steel building from the General will not only look great and satisfy almost any need, but you'll save time and money. Our team will help you create your building and deliver it to your location. We offer design services to help you present your concept to board members, bankers, or for fundraising. And the General can even help with financing. General Steel is a name you know, with quality backed by a 50-year structural warranty. Call today and find out how easy it is to have the building you want. You may even save up to $20,000 with rebates. If you need space, you need the General.
And welcome back to Connect to Success with Ashley Owens on RVN TV. Today, we have a great announcement that we just heard about. Mineela Chand, who works for herself, as well as been a psychotherapist.
Yes.
Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
You just started your own business, and you were telling the audience how exciting and wonderful and amazing it is.
And scary.
And scary. Oh, I hate it. I'm so sorry you're scared. I was terrified when I first started my own.
Yeah.
But so tell me about what the journey has been like so far.
So far, I think the biggest challenge has been defining what I do.
Okay.
Right? And,
let's brainstorm.
and kind of saying it in a very succinct way so that people understand, right? So the working tagline for my business, right, is leading from the inside out. Okay. So it's all, so my interest in leadership, I have a really strong interest in leadership and, you know, people upscaling their businesses, their careers, right? But who are they on the inside in terms of what it is that they do professionally, right? Because I'm really about authenticity, and so there are two things that I'm really focused on is how do people manage their energy, right?
Okay.
And how do people manage their inner peace, right? Because if you're clear in here, your work is, you're more free, you know,
So
to do what you need to do.
Time
Right.
and not self-perception, but you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so, so if I back up a little bit, so Launch Pattern is the focus is on emotional intelligence, right? And executive coaching around emotional intelligence.
And
So
what is emotional intelligence?
So EQ, that is Daniel Goleman's work, right? Which he kind of made mainstream. There was a lot of research and academic research around emotional intelligence and what makes people successful in organizations. And basically what the findings were is your technical ability and expertise may get you into a position, but it's your emotional intelligence, how you manage yourself, how you manage other people, and how you manage the context in the situation, right? Those skills are the things that help you move forward, right? Because as you move up the leadership ladder, your technical ability becomes less and less important.
Okay.
And what becomes more important is how you relate to other people, right? So, emotional intelligence covers 3 areas. Self-awareness and how do you manage yourself. Second is how do you manage other people, right? So if you're looking to motivate people, engage people, get them excited and passionate about what they're doing, coach them, you need to be aware of kind of how you're behaving and what's going on inside you is interacting with what's going on with them, right? Because you can't influence unless you get underneath people's surface, right? And into who they really are and tapping into that. And then how do you change how you behave in an appropriate way, but also continuing to be authentic in situations that are different, right? Because sometimes you have to lead up, sometimes you lead across, and sometimes you lead down, right? So being a good leader is about leading yourself well first, right? So that's basically what emotional intelligence is about. And I could break it down into like really detailed kind of stuff because there's a lot that goes into that. It's basically knowing what you're feeling, knowing what you want, knowing what your goals are and what your passions are, and how do you manage all of that on the inside.
And what makes you different in this area? What perspective do you bring to this teaching?
So as a psychotherapist, right, this is what I do. I kind of take problems and ideas and things and I break it down to its most simplest constituent parts, right? So as a psychotherapist, what do I do, right? I help people become more of who they are. That's it, right? I help people learn the skills so that they can live well inside themselves, but also in relationship with other people. So, you know, when I first started networking like years and years ago, people used to ask me like, what do you do, right? And jokingly one day I said, I'm a dragon slayer, right? Like I take your dragons and I help you slay them, right?
Wow.
So
Not demons, dragons.
Dragons, right?
Yeah.
And I thought a really long time about putting that on my business card, and I was like, because that's what I do.
Why not?
That's what I do,
Yeah.
right?
And you're getting business cards, right?
What are the obstacles? Oh, absolutely. Like, what are the obstacles that you're bumping into, and how do we move them out of the way so that you can move through your life and your work with a lot of ease and confidence, right? So that's my thing. And it's not any different because human beings are human beings. Regardless of what context you meet them, right? Relationships are relationships. Communication is communication. Managing politics, let's talk about the politics of family, right?
Yeah.
It's all the same. It's all the same stuff. Managing power, understanding what power and influence you have, and how you use that in ways that are, you know, respectful of yourself, as well as other people, and how do you share power? Right, so that you can do things together as opposed to dragging people along with you, right? So
as you're doing this new journey, what obstacles have you been kind of hitting at the moment as you're building up your business?
A lot of things. I think as a therapist, like I said, like we're not trained, right? Like we're trained to know exactly how to be with people when I have somebody in the seat, right, in my office, and I know what to do in that situation. You know, set goals, build trust very, very quickly, you know, build safety, all of that kind of stuff, get down to goals, what's the problem, create a plan, right? And engage them in co-creation of a plan, right? Because I see myself as partnering with clients, right? As opposed to I'm the expert, because my positioning is I'm the expert on certain things and you're the expert on your life, right? Yeah. And let's put our Lego pieces together, right, in a pile in the middle of the table and build something amazing that we couldn't have built on our own, right? Yeah. So the challenge that I have is running into the assumption of what people automatically think it means to be a psychotherapist, right? They hear therapist or psychotherapist or licensed marriage and family therapist, that's my license. And all of a sudden I see the shutters go down and this look on their face like, oh, I know what that is. I don't need to talk to you because I don't need that, right? Yeah. There's nothing wrong with me, and all you do is listen to people all day, and you listen to crazy people all day. Like, I've had people say that.
No way.
So, you know, you just listen to people with problems all the time. You're exploring their past, and
so the perception of
the perception of what I do
is the challenge.
Because it's very stereotypical.
Yeah.
Right. It's very stereotypical. Therapists vary greatly in terms of how they do their work, who they do their work with, and what they actually work on.
Right, and on that note, we're going to come back with Mineela Chand, the Dragon Slayer, when we return.
RVN TV is a platform for people of any industry to share their story. Over 285,000 viewers are tuning in to RVN TV shows monthly. We guarantee a great experience that you'll be sharing with everyone you know while increasing your personal and company's brand awareness. But what is your brand? According to Forbes, it's a combination of your logo, your product, your design and feel, and your personality. Did you know that aside from being a guest, we offer even more opportunity to boost your brand? Adding your company logo and website on screen during your interview will allow viewers to recognize your brand instantly. Incorporating images and video clips is another great way to showcase your product during your live segment. Let viewers see how good you really are. And most importantly, there's you and your interview. For less than the cost of a newspaper, direct mail, or a magazine ad, you can leave our studio and within 48 hours have a permanent digital copy of your live segment to link to your social media, embed into your company website, or use in email marketing. Investing in your brand is so very important, and we can't wait to have you as a guest.
And welcome back to Connected Success with Ashley Owens on RVN TV, and I have for the lovely audience today, Miss Dragon Slayer. Thank you so much for being here. It's going to stick. I'm going to make it stick. It's my now mission to make this stick. So we talked about your challenges. We talked about how you started this business, the perception that people have of you. So now as you're building up your own platform, your own brand, right? Like you said, you haven't been trained in it before.
No.
You have not had this experience before, so this is all brand new to you.
Right.
How is networking for you?
Networking is crazy scary. Yeah. It really is. I'm very much an introvert. So one of the assessments that I use quite often and deeply is the Myers-Briggs, right? And on the Myers-Briggs, I am like, my preference for introversion is way over there, right? Like I'm the kind of person that if you invite me to a party and last minute you call me to cancel, right? I'm like, oh, thank God. Yeah. It's not because I don't like you. It's not because, you know, I don't like having a good time. It's just my preference, right? It's very strongly in that, you know, in the direction of leave me alone. I just want to do what I do and I just want to talk to people and have clients, right? Yeah. So the introvert piece for me was very, very difficult, and I find that dealing with that kind of, sometimes I come across as being very awkward, right? Because there's all this roiling that kind of goes on inside, and I don't know what to ask, and I don't know, you know, how do you start conversations and things, right? Because when people come to my office, that's easy, because I'm in charge, and I get to start the conversation however I want, but when I go for networking, it's like, how do I engage people and how do I draw them in? So there's that challenge. And follow-up is also a challenge for me, right? Because I usually walk out from networking events with lots of phone numbers, lots of business cards, and I'm kind of like, what? Like, what do I do with all of this, right? And how do I engage with people after networking? So all of these things I kind of had to learn because it's a very different relationship building skill set, right?
Yep.
Because you're looking for different things. Like, you know, yes, they can develop into friendships, but
the collaboration piece.
Yeah,
is
the
also
collaboration
strategic
piece
partnerships,
and asking, making the ask. Making the ask is very, very difficult for me because I don't ask. As a therapist, I've been trained to give, right?
So I actually got some great advice from a friend of mine who's also sitting where you're sitting at the old studio. Her name is Jamie Picozzi from J2 Solutions. I love you, Jamie. Hope you're there. But she taught me about, and I talk about this in my presentations, but which really kind of, because I had that same issue. How do you ask? Because we're very much a, you know, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to have to ask you for a favor. Like, I want to handle it myself. So she taught me the difference between a 50-cent ask and a $50 ask. A $50 ask is going to that executive or going to somebody and saying, hey, you know, do you know anybody that would benefit from my services, right? So now somebody who's in a power position, who's got a million things on their mind, has to filter through the Excel file in their head of who they think might be a good intro for you. If you email them or call them and say, hey, Mineela, I have an ask for you. I'm actually looking to work with 3 people in the tech industry in the greater Philadelphia area. Do you know of anybody that would be a good fit because of X, Y, and Z? And if you're tech savvy, or at least, you know, alive, you go to LinkedIn and take a look at people that you could actually make an intro with.
Right.
You then put a intro paragraph in the body of the email and say, just copy and paste this, and if you don't mind making the intro, please do. So they don't even have to think about it. You provided the value to them.
Make it really easy.
Make it super easy so they can't say no. And you do that with people that are already your champions, like the strategic partners, the people that you know, like, and trust. It ends up being a less of a scary ask and more of a, if you can, that would be great. Here's making it this nice little bow for you to be able to do that. And it ends up, that ask ends up being way more proficient than saying, hey, do you have anybody that might like me? You know, because that's what it is. We're in the sandbox trying to figure that out. But I thought that was great advice, and it ends up being a less terrifying.
Okay. That was worth my whole trip over here.
Thanks, Jamie. We appreciate it. No, I think it's great. So now, do you go to networking events often, or do you stick with other avenues of working together?
It's interesting because when I was bumping up against these obstacles, and most of those obstacles were for me, right? Like, were from me internally. I kind of sat down and I was like, okay, how do I do this, right? And what is networking? So I broke down networking, right? And networking is nothing more than building a relationship, right? It's nothing more than that. Being interested in someone, being curious, getting to know them, you know, what they do, what they're, you know, what their dreams are. Like, my favorite question at a networking event is, hey, where do you want to be in your business in 5 years?
Ooh,
right?
That's a
like,
good one.
What are your dreams for your business, right? Or when you were starting your business, right? What was the big dream that you had?
Ooh, that's a good one, because that can go into so many different areas.
Yeah, it could go in all kinds of different directions, right? And then it also creates a certain level of energy, like really positive energy in someone else, right? So I learned networking is nothing more than building a relationship, being curious, and instilling or creating this positive energy in someone else, okay? I know how to do that as a therapist, right? I know how to do that. How do you build trust? Well, my job as a therapist in my clinical work is when I have a new client, I need to build trust within the first 5 minutes. I know that, or else I've lost them as a client.
And you're ahead of the game in that.
Yeah, so, you know, and when I broke it down, I was like, wait a second, I already have these skills. Like, what is the big deal here? I already have these skills. I just need to do that in this context, right?
Yep. Mineela, thank you so much for being here. That background, all of that stuff at the end is actually going to get tagged in the post, because I think what you have is a fantastic story. And I think everybody needs to learn from Mineela because she is going through the same of the emotions that a lot of people and the challenges that we all go through. So thank you all very much for watching On Your Lunch Break. We'll see you next week on Connect to Success on RVN TV with me, Ashley Owens, and the Dragon Slayer. We'll see you. We'll see you next week.